Thank you everyone for coming to my show.
Hey, it's Julie. I'm here making an orange tortilla soup, but I'm going to minus the tortillas in mine to make it a little bit healthier, but you're more than welcome to add them. They're just actually a topper on the soup anyway, but I'll go ahead and show you what I'm doing and what you need to make it. It's a pretty fresh recipe. You use 4 celeries, and it said for 2 carrots, but I'd like to up my carrots and do 4 carrots. 1 onion chopped up. It called for a garlic clove. I'm going to do 3. Chopped cilantro, which is just a topper, so if you don't like it, you can definitely leave it out. A cup of water, a little bit of oil. I think it's like 4 tablespoons, I'll confirm. Some orange juice. I don't drink much juice myself, so I bought a smaller one. You need a little over 16 ounces, but I'm going to just go for 16. It calls for 2.5 cups, so mine will be a little shy of that. And when it calls for some broth, I'm using 2, and let's see what size they're 14.5 ounce low sodium chicken broth. And it calls for a 16 ounce green chilies, and I've got 4 ounces. I've got 1 hot and 2 mild, and they're just the fire roasted green chilies. And it calls for some tomato sauce. I bottle my own, so I'm just going to use my own bottle. And it calls for 1 can of 14 ounces tomato sauce. And then it calls for 2 to 3 chicken breasts. And what I've done is I just bought actually a store-bought rotisserie chicken, and I just shredded it up myself. I like the ease of that and don't have to worry about cooking it. But you can certainly cook your own 2 to 3 chicken breasts any way you'd like to cook them, and then just either chop them up or shred them. So I'm going to go ahead and chop my veg and go from there. Okay, so in my pan I've got 3 tablespoons of oil, and I've got my onion, carrot, and celery all diced up. And I've diced them pretty small except for the carrots just because I've got small kids. So go ahead and throw all this into the pan. Oh, I'll put the rest in a sec. Hard to cook one-handed. And I'm just going to go ahead and saute until the veggies are soft. Okay, so I just added in my garlic, and I used 3 cloves. The actual recipe calls for 1, but oh, I hate it when it does that. The actual recipe calls for 1 clove, but I like garlic and think it adds a lot of flavor. And this soup doesn't have a lot of seasoning involved, so I decided to up it. So you can up it or not. Sorry about the steaminess. Tried turning on my fan. We'll see if that helps. But so I've been sauteing a couple minutes, and I just added in the garlic. So I'm going to saute it until all the veggies are soft. All right, it is now time to add my liquid. So I'm going to go ahead and add 1 cup of water. And I'm going to add 2 cans of chicken broth, 14.5 ounces. And I recommend that you try to not be like me. I actually dropped the lid in this one, so yeah, not my finest moment, but there it is down at the bottom. And the orange juice, and it's actually 1.5 cups of orange juice, and I just bought prepared from the store. You could do whatever you want to do. And then it calls for a 14 ounce can of, or is it 14 ounce? A can of tomato sauce. I'm going to go ahead and just dump in this entire bottle of my canned bottled tomatoes. And then I'm also going to dump in my 3 little cans of green chilies. And again, these are the fire roasted green chilies. They have a lot of flavor and are really delicious. Alright. Now I'm going to go ahead and mix that all up. And what I'm going to do, actually I decided with reading the recipe a little bit more, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of taco seasoning to my chicken. And again, I just used a rotisserie chicken that I shredded. So I'm going to add a little bit of taco seasoning to that, and I'm going to go ahead and do that right now while I'm just letting this simmer. And the taco seasoning I'm using, oh, what did I do with it? No, here it is. It's just, I got this at Costco, a big old McCormick taco seasoning. So I'm going to just put it in my chicken. Okay, so I've got all the liquids mixed in, and I'm going to go ahead and add a heaping tablespoon of cilantro. I lied earlier when I said it doesn't go in the soup. It actually does. And so if you don't like it, don't add it or add just a little. Cilantro is kind of an acquired taste for me. When I first tried it, I was in my early 20s and didn't think it was very good. But now, as I'm verging on 30, I love this stuff and could eat it in anything. So the recipe calls for 1 tablespoon. I did a heaping tablespoon. So I'm going to go ahead and mix that beauty in, and then I'm going to go ahead and mix the taco seasoning into my chicken. Okay, so here's my taco meat, or well, I guess my chicken with taco seasoning. And I seasoned it a little bit aggressively because there's not much seasoning in the soup, aka none, other than the chilies and cilantro. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that in and throw in a little salt and pepper. And I'm going to salt and pepper I can't think of the opposite of aggressively, but kind of lightly, just because I don't know what it's going to taste like with all this taco seasoning. And so I'd rather give it a taste when it's all warmed up and then decide how much salt and pepper I want to put in. So I'm going to go ahead and put in this and a little bit of salt and pepper. Okay, so now I've added in the chicken. I'm going to go ahead and just do a little bit of salt and pepper. So that's kind of a little starter, a base to it, but I think this is going to be delicious. It looks so good, you guys. If you're making the chicken fresh and not using cold rotisserie chicken out of the fridge, I picked it over last night and then stuck it in my fridge. You can actually wait until the chicken is done cooking and then just put it in hot right at the very end. But because my chicken was cold and needs to be heated, I'm going to just heat it up with the rest of the soup. So you don't need to actually add the chicken until the end if you're making fresh. Okay, so my supper is ready. I made the chicken tortilla soup. I added some sour cream, some shredded cheese, and I chopped up some of the cilantro to put on top. I'm going to eat my dinner with a cornbread muffin with cornmeal and whole wheat flour, and then some fruit. And I also made some quinoa, which I might mix in with my soup. So, yummy, yummy. I'll go ahead and post the calories for the soup in my bottom bar. It'll be just the soup, not with any add-ins, because whatever you add in is your personal preference. You can also add in tortilla strips or tortilla chips to make it more of a tortilla soup, but I chose not to. So enjoy. Bon appetit.